The grandfather's story by none other than Reverend Byron Grayson. Reverend Grayson.
Man, I tell you, busting tables all day long, these folks. I don't know what they think this place is. But this is a special day. Really? Day I've been waiting for a long time. Set these tables up. I'm gonna run out of chairs. There you go. The year is 1933. And I want to take you to a place a little bit away from Lenoir called York, Pennsylvania. My name is George French Grayson. I grew up in Haymarket, Virginia. But at the age of 8, I realized that I did not want to work on a tobacco farm. You can look at me and see by the 6-foot, 4-inch frame that I'm young and tall. Mama said that I'll probably spend most of my life behind a plow, looking at the backside of the mule. I said, Mama, that ain't for me. So she said, you know, we got some kinfolk up in New York. Why don't you go up to New York and live? Because at 8 years old, it was time to go to work. I went to school for 2 years, and now it's time to do real employment. So I got on the train in the freight part, and I fell asleep on my way to New York City. Hey kid, huh? Thought you were going to New York. I am. Well, you were here. Get off. Oh, thank you, man. I jumped off the train. I looked around. I said, this don't look like no big city. Took me a little while before I understood that I was not in New York City, but I was in York. Pennsylvania. 8 years old, with no family. Coming in here. I met a lady by the name of Ida Smith. Ida Smith was one good-looking girl. Here I am, 6'4", and Ida almost 4'9½". I fell in love with that girl. And folks used to laugh at us when we walked down the street because Miss Ida would always walk with her umbrella, and I'd walk behind her trying to keep up with her with these long legs. But see, what folks didn't understand was I liked to look at her. Yeah. From Miss Ida, I learned a lot about family. And tonight's a special night. As soon as my son gets here, I have something I want to tell him. Life's been kind of rough. I didn't have all the things in life that I wanted to. I'm a busboy at the Dutchman Club. One day I'm going to become a waiter. So I thought. Where's that boy? He should have been here by now. Well, let me tell him what I was going to say while I'm waiting for him. Because I want to tell him, son, I started out without family. From the age of 8 until now, until I met your mom, I didn't have family. And I had kind of forgotten some of the things that I had learned before I came up here. One story was that my grandfather, who was born a slave and was married as a slave, was on the Grayson Tyler plantation in Haymarket, Virginia. And word came that he had been sold and was going to be sent down south, I don't know, maybe somewhere in South Carolina. And when he heard that he was going to be separated from his family because he was gone but his wife and children weren't going, he went into the barn and he took an axe and he cut off his foot. Because a slave without a foot isn't worth anything. He wouldn't be sold. And he did that because he did not want to leave his family. So when that boy gets there, I'm going to let him know, son, family is important. Granddad went through some rough time. You don't leave family. This is an important day. Charles, my son, is getting ready to leave for college. And when he gets here, I want to let him know that I have something for him. I've been saving a long time. And you know, sometimes folks will come into the club and they drink these little shots, get carried away with themselves, and they want to abuse. I'm just a busboy, so they can abuse me. I remember one time, big party, and I busted the tables as they were leaving, and one guy who had too much to drink came back and looked at what I was doing. He didn't call me a Negro, he called me another N-word. And they said, boy, you're doing a good job. Now, I don't understand that. And then he took 2 cents out of his pocket. And he dropped them at his feet and said, boy, you pick those up. That's for you. I turned around, and by the grace of God, there was a broom and a dustpan with a handle. So I took that broom and I swept up those 2 cents, and I said, thank you, sir. I still want to be a waiter. It was hard for me to save money. I didn't have a big glamorous job. I want to be a waiter. I'm a busboy. But when my boy gets here, I want him to know that I have something for him. In this packet, I have that 2 cents. In that packet, I have his tuition to go to college for 4 years. In this packet, I saved. I sacrificed. But the main thing I want to tell him is this message that his grandson heard in the 1970s when my dad gave me the check to go to college. His father said to him, Charles, this is yours. But always remember this, because we're talking about family. The things I do for you are not for you. The things I do for you are for yours. That was my grandfather. That's a message that's been passed down from my father. And boy, with 4 children, it really hurt. But what grandfather had was a vision. Some folks said that my grandfather never amounted to anything in his life. He wanted to be we had to go from a busboy to a waiter. And he never made it. Oh, but I tell you, my father was a great man. He believed in family.
Wonderful.
And he walked by faith. And not by sight. Have you seen her?
Have you seen
call